Welcome to Solutions Rising. I'm Rachel Branch, and it is a great pleasure and honor to welcome Taina Asili, the United States 1 Billion Rising Coordinator. Taina Asili and I met as a result of the 1 Billion Rising programs highlighting the worldwide assault on women and girls, hosting V-Day and 1 Billion Rising programs, and there's just so much that we have to talk about. And I'm going to let her tell us about herself. And of course, every time I do a 1 Billion Rising program on Solutions Rising, I honor V. Ensler, formerly an award-winning American playwright, author and founder of 1 Billion Rising, and also Christina Schuler de Schrijver of the City of Joy in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And of note these days is what is happening to the women and girls in the Sudan. So we'll talk about all of these, but we're going to talk about Taina's work in the U.S. and how she came to be part of 1 Billion Rising, and I'm really honored that she is here. Welcome, Taina Asili. Taina.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a joy.
Thank you.
So
would you like me to share a little bit about how I got involved with 1 Billion Rising?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I actually was not super familiar with 1 Billion Rising, maybe even 10 years ago. However, of course, I've heard of the vagina monologues. I was very familiar with V, formerly known as Eve Ensler. And I had the honor and pleasure of performing at a conference at Columbia University related to incarceration, where I sang an anthem that I wrote around that topic. And it was at that time that V was also speaking at that conference, and we met backstage and had this beautiful connected conversation about anthems. And Rachel, as you know, 1 Billion Rising music is such an important component of the work of 1 Billion Rising. And at that time, and I think this might have been in 2018, I was invited to write the new anthem for 1 Billion Rising, which became We Are Rising. And that anthem was really interesting process, and that really is what invited me into the world of 1 Billion Rising. So I was given all of this incredible footage, right? So whenever I approach songwriting, I should say I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. I've been doing music connected to love and liberation for close to 30 years. And whenever I approach songwriting, I like to do a lot of research and work collaboratively if I'm composing for someone else. So I was given tons of footage about 1 Billion Rising and got to really dig into the depths of this work. So I'll share a little more about 1 Billion Rising is, but what I witnessed were these incredible artistic uprisings that were happening around the world to end gender-based violence. And I was really blown away by what I witnessed. And I knew at that point that I wanted to be a part of this work.
That's wonderful. And of course, I'm a musician also, so it is very important, music. And of course, when I started out with 1 Billion Rising, the first day was February 14th, Valentine's Day, and it was about dance and banging on drums. And it just keeps evolving and evolving. And of course, today, it is even more important. It just keeps getting more and more important because of what is happening to women and girls and the vulnerable around the world. So
absolutely.
What do you do? What's your job?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I became connected with that organization at that time. I knew that was something that I wanted to stay connected with. So 1 Billion Rising comes out of V-Day, and it's a movement to end violence against women and girls, both cisgender and transgender, gender expansive people, and the earth. And it's this powerful movement that happens around the globe, starting on V-Day, which is February 14th, moving through into March 8th, International Women's Day, and then moving into Earth Day in April 22nd, as a way to use art, use creativity, use our voices and our collective power to demand an end against violence against women, girls, cisgender, transgender, gender expansive people, and the earth. So, this year, or last year rather, 2024, I was invited to join the team officially as the US coordinator. As I mentioned, this is a global movement, so there are coordinators that exist. I believe there's about 200 countries in total that are involved in the movement. So there's coordinators that exist all over the globe. And I have been invited to be the first official US coordinator. And my job is really to support people who are interested in holding these artistic uprisings, or risings as we called them, here in the United States. And so we are deep in the midst of it now, as you know. And I know that you consider this show a part of that rising. Is that right?
Yes, I do. And of course, I started, 1 Billion Rising started 13 years ago, and I started my Solutions Rising show 13 years ago. This is my 13th year. And of course, it is centered really around stopping the assault on women and girls. And my rising, I know, came from the solutions probably were because so many people, they want you to do stuff. Well, what are you going to do? And what are the solutions? So it's been intent on solutions rising, on rising solutions. But the fact that you're a composer and a musician and music and dance, and I didn't understand the first year, what are they dancing about? I didn't understand what that meant, and I didn't know about the freedom of dancing and the interpretation and it's part of standing up, and the joy. And with all this horror, you need joy, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, starting in 2013, 1 Billion Rising started dancing in these flash mob type of dances. I mean, the risings can be a variety of different things, from a television show to a dance party, to a theatrical production, to a spoken word reading. It comes in, risings really are whatever the person who's interested in using, their creative voice to speak out against these issues, whatever they choose to do. However, in 2013, I think one of the popular songs was Break the Chains, which came out, and people still dance to this song around the world. There was choreography that went along with it. I believe that was created by Debbie Allen, the renowned choreographer Debbie Allen. And so people dance to these songs around the world, and they also create their own songs and their own choreography. And yeah, for myself as the composer for We Are Rising, I was just blown away by seeing people use this song that I created in their risings around the world. I mean, it was profoundly moving. I'm still deeply humbled and honored to see the way that people have used this song as a part of their rising. I know recently we had some movement on the internet, or on social media around it. And it's really profound. I'm, as I said, a musician. I've been doing work around love and liberation for over close to 30 years. And I come from a family of musicians. So, Rachel, I don't know if you know this, but my father was a singer and Afro-Latin jazz conductor. My mother was a dancer. My grandmother was a poet. My grandparents also have lineages of music and poetry and arts. And I'm Puerto Rican, and for me, what I do in my creative work is a part of that lineage of using art and creativity as a form of resistance. So my Puerto Rican ancestors who were enslaved, who had genocide committed upon them, they used, my Afro-Indigenous ancestors used art and creativity, dance, song, drumming as a way to reclaim our humanity in the face of inhumanity, as a way to reclaim our cultural and spiritual traditions, as a time period to organize revolts. And for me, this is a part of our inheritance as human beings to use our creative power in all different types of ways, but in this particular way, as a way to speak out and, as you said, to reclaim our joy. It's so important to reclaim our joy.
I think you can get beaten down without joy. I find that too. But I've said more than once that the musicians, the artists, the dancers, the singers, all of those creative arts, you and those people and your ancestors, they're the visionaries for our world that continues in the history of the world. And of course, to see 1 billion rising keep evolving and keep expanding. And I have a friend who does Interdependence Day on the 4th of July. I can see it expanding to that and expanding to, I don't know, something in the fall or the solstice. And it's a year round. And I do say on this program that it's very important that 1 billion rising is about every day, trying to do something every day. So, that's part of the
Absolutely.
honor. But to have your song go around the world, you should be so proud. And I just think it's astounding. And I'd be willing to bet you were probably surprised at what happened to it. Were you? Your
I
song?
was so surprised. As I said, I wasn't super familiar with 1 Billion Rising prior to working with them in this way. And I was really deeply surprised and honored to see my song lifted up in this way. Rachel, I want to also share with you a new offering that we now have with 1 Billion Rising, which is called Voices. It's a theater. So we spoke about music, but theater has always been an important element, right, of these risings. And the root of V-Day, right, came out of the vagina monologues. So there is a new incredible audio play called Voices that has been produced in 2024 and is now released for people to use in their risings. And this is a really interesting piece of art because it's incorporating theater. It's an audio play, so you're listening to a theatrical performance, a very poetic performance, and you're really working on that deep listening. And then woven into this theatrical performance is a soundscape. So it's this beautiful music, and it's a lot of different sound elements being woven into a theatrical performance. So you kind of get a blend of both of those. And so this is an audio play that people are invited to be able to host and produce in their locations. So it's a new piece that I'm super excited for people to get to know. And it exists right now on Spotify. So you can go right now to Spotify and listen to this audio play and check it out for yourself. So yeah, it's something new to explore.
Is this, we have a WMNBLP here. Is this something that we could carry on like our local radio station? Or could I put it on 1 Billion Rising, Solutions Rising program?
I think that's something that would be great to discuss with the Voices team. And I would be happy to share the website later on if folks want to get involved. So what we do, my job as a U.S. coordinator is to connect people who are interested in hosting Voices, whether it's what you just mentioned, playing it somewhere or producing a listening, event, right, where people are invited into a room and you listen to the audio play, and then you're given sort of workshop types of activities to do. And I forgot to mention that this is an audio play that's specifically Black women Black women's voices. So this is about deep listening to these powerful Black women. And this is a play, like I said, there's a whole team that's built around it. And so you can contact the team, they'll schedule a meeting with you, and you can have a conversation with them about how you want to be able to use this production in your work.
I'll do that after the show with you. Shall we talk about the risings in the United States now? And can you tell me all the different risings or some of the different risings that are going on in the United States?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of risings happening in the United States. And I just want to say again that these risings are working in tandem with, are happening in tandem rather with risings that are happening around the world, right? So we're all rising up in solidarity with one another at around the same time. And here in the United States, I mean, from corner to corner of this country, you will find risings happening. The Esperanza Dance Project has been doing a yearly flash mob type of dance. In Tucson, Arizona, that just happened recently. I think that happened right on V-Day. We also have seen flash mobs happen here in this side of the country, in the East Coast. So in Boston, there's a flash mob dance that's coming up on March 8th, International Women's Day, and that's going to be a flash mob for reproductive justice. I'm hoping to come and get to witness that, but it happened last year as well, and I got to see the footage from that. It was really beautiful. I'm also going to be visiting Portland, Maine on March 29th for a rising that's happening that's a bit different from a flash mob. So this one is going to be artistic offerings of healing. So like a day of workshops and artistic offerings and some performances that are specifically around healing within the LGBTQ community. And so that's a very specific targeted workshop series that's going to be happening. It's going to be very beautiful. And then, of course, people are still doing a variety of different types of events in the Bronx. They had a sort of queer flavor mass action event with beautiful performances. And this was really focused on transgender people of color. And so there was a beautiful event that happened on February 14th. And I think, again, there are more and more from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between that are going to be happening from now into April.
That's fantastic. Really fantastic. You must love what you do. If I were younger, I'd want to be working with you and doing what you're doing. But I must tell you, I do get joy out of being able to do this program. And I expect now that we're talking that I think we might have some ongoing programs so we can keep update, keep 1 Billion Rising right in the forefront. And what's fun
Absolutely.
for me is I keep meeting people. Like one of the places I get coffee is Jake's Java in Lanesboro. And one of the women there, and there's a story behind that, she was in Vagina Monologues. And I was in 2 Vagina Monologues in 2019 and 2020. And I met another woman from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Adams, a theater performance we were both in. It is just amazing when you come in contact with these different women that are connected, that you are totally surprised when you find out they're connected. So this is an ongoing, growing movement, and it's so important. It's so very important.
Rachel, it really is. And it has been an honor. I've been working officially with 1 Billion Rising since June, but since I released We Are Rising in 2019, I have gone to events and had the opportunity to connect with folks and build community in this area. And for me, it is a real honor. It is a real joy. As you know, I've been holding monthly gatherings over Zoom with people who are interested or are planning on hosting a rising to support them in any way that I can. During those meetings, we explore ideas, support each other as we move through any challenges or questions that have come up in regards to organizing a rising. And it's been a real pleasure. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I don't think I've mentioned yet is that in my new role, I worked on creating a new toolkit that folks can use in organizing their rising. So it's a very rich document that's now available both in English and in Spanish, that gives sort of a step-by-step guide to who is 1 billion rising, who is 1 billion rising, how do you organize a rising, all the nuts and bolts of it. In addition to that, there are two documents that are connected to that. There is the campus guide. So we have had many, many risings that happen on campuses. As we know, there are some incredible student activists out there. And so we have a campus guide that supports students who are interested in organizing a rising. And then we also have a disability justice guide that was created this year as a way to make sure that we are embodying disability justice into our work. And so those are two new offerings. And finally, I wanted to say that if people are interested in either organizing a rising or finding out about a rising, you can go to 1billionrising.org. And at that website, there's this map. It's an interactive map. You can put in your city or your zip code, click find an event, and you can find out about any events that are happening in your area. And it's pretty amazing to be able to, just see on the map all of the risings that are happening around the world.
It's been wonderful to watch your Zoom programs, and I try to attend everyone, to see the interconnectedness that you have done. And we're talking to people all around the country. Some people who've never done one, some people who have done a rising, and to listen to the exchange and watch the contributions anyone who can is giving to those who haven't done. There's a real camaraderie in that wonderful group of people that attend your Zoom meetings. And that's really been, for me, a wonderful addition, because talking to people who are doing the same thing and understand and care about it, and to see the newcomers become excited is wonderful. It's just wonderful. That is to your credit, really, Taina. A terrific
Thank you so much.
Addition, very terrific addition.
Well, it's not just to my credit, honestly, it really is. I remember in the first Zoom meeting, and I had only intended to have, I think this might have been in October or November, we held a Zoom meeting that was sort of like a 101 for anyone who was interested in 1 Billion Rising, wanted to know more. And Rachel, it was at that meeting that folks were saying they wanted to hold monthly meetings to feel more connected. I should mention you have the Rise for Freedom logo behind you. And what that is our current campaign. So we're unified in this sort of broader concept of ending violence against women and girls, cisgender, transgender, gender expansive people and the earth. But each year there's a global campaign that happens. And so that logo represents our current campaign, which is Rising for Freedom, Rise for Freedom, Rising Against Fascism. And as you know, Rachel, we are in a critical place in this country and in this world, right? We are facing unprecedented attacks on our human rights, everything from immigrant rights to LGBTQ rights, reproductive rights, and rights to protect our planet, right? And so we are in a real critical place. We have a lot of challenges that we're facing in this moment. And I think what was identified in that initial Zoom meeting, V attended that meeting and was speaking to how our campaign connected to, specifically here in the US, to what we're facing in the US. What was identified in that meeting was the need for us to not feel so siloed and alone, but to feel that interconnectedness with one another here in the US. And also the purpose of 1 Billion Rising is to feel our global connectedness, right? So we're organizing within our individual communities, but also remembering that we are connected here as a broader community and moving out. And so it was really the attendees of that initial Zoom meeting that invited that idea to have regular meetings to stay connected. And it has been a pleasure. And it's also been a beautiful opportunity for me to feel connected in this work because I feel the heavy just like everyone else. You know, I've been doing art and activism, like I said, for a very long time. But you know, it's a heavy lift often to speak out. You know, it's a heavy lift. So it's important to feel a sense of community and connection. That's an important piece of our work.
And it makes me think of that recent Zoom program on the Sudan, and that will connect with the City of Joy, which I've talked about just practically every year. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs, and then I'll ask you for a final thought. And this is from the 1 Billion Rising. The world is rising for freedom and rising against fascism. Quote, "Our creative resistance is artistic, outrageous, bold, united, fierce, and radical. We could not be more proud of this movement and of the timeless work of activists, survivors, artists worldwide, our 1 Billion Rising coordinators and their teams. When 1 Billion Rising launched, we envisioned it as a one-year campaign, and yet here we are at year 13, and it's more intentional and impactful, and building every day, thanks to all of you. Together, we are demanding an end to violence against women and girls, gender expansive people, and the earth. We resist authoritarianism, threats to our bodies, and environmental destruction." And I would love to hear a final thought from you, and I really hope you will come back and do another show with me or many programs with me. Thank you so much, Taina.
Thank you, Rachel. I think the final thought that I want to share is that idea that, you know, sometimes, you know, when we're facing what we're facing today, it can feel really scary. It can feel, you know, overwhelming. And 1 Billion Rising, this work is really an opportunity to tap into our collective creative power. This is something, as I said, that is our human birthright and this powerful tool that we've always had to be able to resist and to uplift in these times. And it's a powerful strategy. We've seen many, many impacts using this strategy around the world. So it's an invitation to tap into that. And I look forward to seeing who else joins this movement.
Thank you so much, Taina Asili. And if each one of us picked up one problem and solved it, imagine the incredible view we would all have of solutions rising. Please be part of the solution. Thank you.